Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Okay, welcome everybody to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes to change your life, and as a hachana to Yud Shevat, we're going to be learning Basi Legani. We're going to be doing from this book in English, just because English is the people's first language. Just a few prefatory remarks before we start on this beautiful journey. Basi Legani was the maamarim, whoever doesn't know, was the maamarim was given out by the Frierdiker Rebbe to be learned on Yud Shevat, and ultimately became the day that he passed away. And the maamarim actually consists of, it's like a series. He gave a series of maamarim to be given out on different days. It was Yud Shevat, Yud Gimel Shevat, Purim, Beis Nisan, if I understand correctly. And so ultimately it becomes total 20 prakim. It's a hemshach, which is a continuation. It's different maamarim, but a continuation of the same theme. And really, we understand, and also the Rebbe showed to us how this maamar is for everybody. It's like the Frierdiker Rebbe's message for Dar Shvi. And if we want to know how we're meant to live our lives, it's based off this maamar, and also and that's what the Rebbe did every year in Yud Shevat. He would go through another chapter, and he would explain it. So meaning the first year when the Rebbe became Rebbe, he said a maamar called Basi Legani, and that maamar focused on this first parak of this maamar. And then the next year he said a maamar of Basi Legani focused on the next parak, and it's a 20-year cycle, plus 20 chapters, and then he started again. He did it 1.5 times, more than 1.5, but didn't finish the second time. It's a different discussion, not for now. And but the trick is, in order to understand those maamarim, which is essentially the Rebbe giving an explanation, biurim, on this Basi Legani, so you have to understand this Basi Legani well. And just on a personal note, from this maamar is a maamar that really changed my life and really got me to understand Chassidus. And unfortunately, it's a maamar that a lot of us have learned, but not understood at all. Like we learned to Kuch Tefillah, we don't have a das, we don't learn. Maamar is just some words on a page, and it's not really life-changing. And for a lot of people, this beginning especially has become very synonymous, because the Rebbe says it every time. When the Rebbe would say his maamar, he'd always begin the same way, like this. So a lot of people just skim through it, but I know this already. But unfortunately, not a lot of us do know it. And we hope that at the end of this shir, we will. So let's begin. If you have this book, it's on page 1. Otherwise, you can just listen in, or whatever safe you have. So this, also this book, it's pure translation, but it also gives a little bit of like explanations. So if you're following along in a different translation, it'll be a little confusing. And if you follow along in the Hebrew, you might I'll say this in the brackets just to make sure it's clear. So, and hopefully with this achana, this preparation, Yud Shevat will be in different Yud Shevat than it's ever been. Much more of a powerful, meaningful experience. Okay, the following maamar comprises chapter 1 to 5, which is part 1 of the series of discourses with the general title Basi Legani, was released in advance for study on Shabbos Pashas Boy, Yud Shevat, 1950. So like I said before, it was given out on Shabbos, Friday night, in order to be learned on Shabbos. In honor of the yahrzeit of the author's grandmother, Rebbe and Rivka. Part 1, Basi Legani. I remember we're learning from the Frierdiker Rebbe. Basi Legani achaisi chalo. I've come to my garden, my sister, my bride. This is what it says in Shir Shirim. I've come to my garden, my sister, my bride. And in general, when you see in Shir Shirim or in Torah, when it talks about, let's say, different types of love, so there's a love of a sister and a love of a bride. They're talking about different levels of love. The Shir Shirim, the Medrash explains, not to be taken at face value. It is a metaphor describing the ongoing relationship between God and his bride. So what does it mean? I've come to my garden, my sister, my bride. The Jewish people talking about us. I've come to my garden, which is God, to my sister, my bride, which is us. The above verse, for example, refers to the time of the construction of the Basi Mikdash sanctuary, when the Shekhinah came into his garden. For it was then that the divine presence, distant for a time, was revealed in this world. So the Medrash explains on Shir Hashem in this pasuk, I've come to my garden, my sister, my bride, talking about the times of the Mishkan, that Hashem came into his garden. What does that mean? The Hebrew word for meaning to my garden is now discussed. The Medrash Rabbah explains on this pasuk, observes that the word is not used legan, Basi Legani, I've come to the garden, but legani, which means to my garden. And this implies legnuni, which is my bridal chamber. For as the commentaries on the Medrash explain, this possessive form implies a private place, such as a chamber in which the spiritual union of bride and groom is consummated. So the divine presence is thus saying, I've come to my bridal chamber, to the place which my essence was originally revealed. So what is the Medrash saying, Medrash Rabbah? That it's not just I'm coming to my garden, but I'm coming to my bridal chamber. What's a bridal chamber? It's a special thing that they made for Chassan and Kala for the first, I don't know how long, of their marriage. It was a place to come close, come together, and really get to know each other, and really be intimate. So too with this pasuk, what are we saying is Hashem is saying, I've come back to my garden, meaning when we built the Mishkan, Hashem came back to where it was in the beginning, which is a place that we are very close and very connected to Hashem, where his essence was originally revealed. And then he's going to explain. The Medrash continues, in the beginning, the essence of the Shekhinah was apparent in the early world. However, in the wake of the cosmic sin of the tree of knowledge, the Shekhinah departed from the earth and rose into the heavens. Later, on account of sin of Cain and then Enosh, the Shekhinah withdrew even further from this world, rising from the nearest heavens to the second and then the third. Later, yet, the sins of the generation of the deluge caused it to recede from the third heaven to the fourth, and so on. This progressive recession of the revealed divine presence is alluded to in the wording of the verse related to Adam and Chava. So, heard the sounds God, he alluded to in the wording of the verse related to Adam and Chava, heard the sound of God walking about in the garden. So Rava notes the verse does not say the expected form of the verb mahalech, which is going, rather mishalech, which is just a jumping. So what is he saying like this? That in the beginning, Hashem was here. The world was created, so to speak, perfect. Hashem was here. Divine presence was felt. It was clear. It was all elikus, and it was very clear. And there was some ra, but it wasn't mixed. There were two separate things, and it was very clear. The tangibility of God was clear. To do a mitzvah was much easier, much more. When you did something right, you felt the difference. Everything was good and clear. What happened? Adam and Chava ate from the tree of knowledge, and then Elikus departed. That sensitivity that you had for Elikus, the clarity of Elikus in the world disappeared. It went up a level. That's why he says, that's why Rabbi Abba says, it doesn't say Mahalech, that Hashem was walking in the garden. It's Mishalech, was jumping, meaning it through that sin, it jumped out of him. Doesn't mean godliness disappeared, like we don't see it anymore, like it's not here anymore, as much as it's not sensed anymore. The ultimate goal of our lives is to have that sensitivity for godliness, of sensitivity for a mitzvah, sensitivity for the opposite of not doing a mitzvah. That we should. That's what a tzaddik is. A tzaddik doesn't. He hates doing an avera. It's not like he doesn't want to do it. It's disgusting to him. Why? Because he feels that he's sensitive to it. And what we want is that sensitivity. And what it was in the beginning, it was that sensitivity. It was very clear. And what happened? So then averas came. Adam and Chava did an avera, and then that sensitivity went up a level and was less sensitive. One level less sensitive. Then Cain, and then Enosh, and then the flood, and all these big averas cause that godliness to feel God, so to speak, doesn't feel at home anymore. So he leaves. It's like you're in a relationship with somebody, you do something hurtful, so the person sort of separates themselves from you. Now it could be not a total separation, but it could be a little bit of a separation, and they're not as comfortable anymore. They're not as open and honest and that level, and they don't feel comfortable to talk to you, and your relationship it gets tainted. And this is exactly what happened. In the beginning, Elikus was here, Begalui, you felt it, you lived with it, it was easy. But then they didn't have air, and then it went away a little bit, and we didn't feel that anymore. We lack that sensitivity, and it keeps on going worse and worse. And it was seven big averas that moved it away all the way up to the seventh heavens, which means that sensitivity to godliness was very, very diminished until the times of Avram, where it was pashut, they just served the idols all day. The Medrash proceeds to explain that after the sin of the 7 generations had caused the divine presence to withdraw 7 spiritual levels from its initial manifestation in this world, the 7 tzaddikim arose whose divine service drew the divine presence down once more into this world below. So then came 7 tzaddikim, starting with Avram, and it brought it down progressively down below. Avram, Yitzhak, Yaakov, I think Levi, Kahas, Amram, and ultimately Moshe. And they brought it down back into the world. Through the merit of Avram, the Shekhinah was brought down from the 7th heaven to the 6th. Avram made the sensitivity to Likus a little bit easier, and you could be more sensitive, a little more than what it was. Then, to the merit of Yitzchak, the Shekhinah was brought down even more from the 6th to the 5th, and so on, until Moshe, the 7th of these tzaddikim, and all those who are 7th, are cherished. This is what the Frierdiker Rebbe puts in from Frierdiker Rebbe, but it's always in every maamarim of Basi Legani this was put in. All those that are 7th are cherished. Kol shvivin chavivin. That means that you and I are in the 7th generation. The way the generation works, whoever gets confused, is that the generation works of the Rebbe. So the Alter Rebbe was the 1st generation. Then came the next Rebbe, the middle Rebbe. That's the 2nd generation. And we are the generation of the Rebbe. So we're the 7th generation. The Kol shvivin chavivin means we are special. And the Rebbe explains in the Rebbe's maamarim about this, that we're special, not necessarily because of our actions of what we've done, but because of where we come in the place. We have an Alter Rebbe, so then we have a 7th, and that's us. But the point we have to realize that we are special, and we have a special mission. Our job is to bring that revelation, that sensitivity to Likus down here, back to where it was. The Eibishter in this world, sensitive, we can feel that, and we can connect to that. The Vinyan was primarily revealed in the Beis HaMikdash, as it is written. And where does this happen? This happened, let me just check the time. Okay, good. This happened in the Beis HaMikdash with Moshe. That's how it brought it down. Like it says, you should make for me a sanctuary and I should dwell within them. So significantly, the last Hebrew word of the verse is not as expected, rather cham. So it says, you should make for me a sanctuary, I will dwell in them. Hashem says, make for me a mishkan, and I should dwell within them. Why is he saying in them? It should be in it. So the reason why it says in them, because b'seicham means within them, for Hashem desires, he has a craving to dwell, he craves a dwelling place within each individual Jew, that Hashem wants to live within us. That sensitivity causes us to have Hashem, the ultimate purpose is that Hashem wants to live in this world. Means he wants to have this revelation, he wants to be comfortable in the world, just like you have a house. You imagine you have a house and you have a guest over. The ultimate goal you want is that guest feels at home. And the more we connect to Hashem and the more we do the right things, the more we make a mikdash, the more Hashem can feel at home. If our house is dirty, so to speak, or if we're not doing the right things, and Hashem is not welcome. But if we're doing the right things, Hashem is welcome. The more right things we're doing, the more welcome he feels. And the more we work on that, the more he feels that way. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this place, so to speak, our house within us and within the world around us, a place where God feels comfortable to come. This concept can grant us insight into the verse, Tzaddikim yushu haaretz v'yishkonu ad aleh. It says that Tzaddikim will inherit the land and should dwell within it. Now the righteous will inherit the land, dwell from it. Now the word la'ad, he translated forever, recalls the word ad in the phrase Sheikh and Admar Makadesh. So what does it mean that Tzaddikim will inherit the land and will dwell upon this forever? First, we're talking about Tzaddikim in the context of Yam Chilkom Tzaddikim. We're all Tzaddikim, which is all of us. How do we inherit the land? For, like it says, Sheikh and Admar Makadesh, he who dwells forever, exalted and holy is his name. Meaning, our verse may thus be understood as follows. The righteous will inherit the land, which is an allusion to Gan Eden. The tzaddikim will get Gan Eden. Why? Because he who dwells forever, exalted and holy is his name, to dwell and be revealed in this physical world. How do you inherit the Gan Eden? Is through bringing Hashem down here. He who dwells forever, meaning godliness, elikus, holy is his name, to dwell down here. With this in mind, namely the revelation of the divine presence in the Mishkan and more particularly in the revelation of the divine dimension with ourselves, in our own Mishkan, we can better understand the interpretation of the pasuk Basi Legani. As I have come to my bridal chamber, i.e., the Shekhinah, he speaks of its return to the original location of its essential abode in the midst of the nether being. So what does it mean? Basi Legani, I've come to my bridal chamber. Hashem is saying, in the times of the Mishkan, I came back, I feel comfortable enough to come back into my house. The world was his house, and we ruined it, and so he left. There were seven Averis, and he left. And he said, I'm not comfortable anymore in here, and I'm out of here. And he left. And then through different people, starting with Avram and going down to Moshe, ultimately to Moshe, he brought it all back down. Hashem said, I feel comfortable again. And we're going to explain further what that means in general. And then we're going to discuss how do we do it for ourselves. Because the question is, it's nice that we're talking about that they built a Mishkan, 7th generation. Well, how do we build our Mishkan? What do we need to do within our lives to make God feel comfortable? We want to have a revelation of godliness. We want to feel the Elikus. We want to feel connected to God. How do we make him feel comfortable in our surroundings? To be continued, to learn about that tomorrow.